The road to the Full Throttle Cup comes to perhaps the scariest racetrack on the circuit and definitely the fastest racetrack on the service as we welcome you to LSRTV. And tonight we come to you from Talladega Superspeedway, said to be built on an old Indian burial ground, and it may be haunting some drivers here tonight as we get set to roll for round 6 of the chase for the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup. And this could be the most unpredictable race of all. As we saw during the Cup race Sunday, it is win and advance or survive and advance. And we could see all of that and more here tonight from the 2.66 mile tri-oval where anything can and probably will happen. Jacob Seelman alongside Evan Pasoko as we get ready to bring you all the action for what I guess we'll call the Garry Mercer Trucking Talladega Tangle, Evan, because trust me, I think we're going to see some tangling before this night is over. 84 laps where we could see, I don't know what, but you know, I do know this much. It's going to be exciting, and just about anything is possible tonight, as evidenced even by the qualifying sheets. Brennan Mercer's on the pole right now.
Yeah, when they announced this schedule, and RSR said that they're going to be going with the Cup Chase format, then this was definitely the round that we circled, but not only that, this was the racetrack that we circled, because to have Talladega close out a round, and you got to look at the championship standings, only 5 points right now separating the 8th and 9th positions, and from there on, it's not a lot, maybe 1 or 2 point increments from 9th on back, so a lot of these guys won't know their fate at a turn 4 compared to the start-finish line down there on that last lap. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I have to agree with you on that one. 84 laps, anything can and probably will happen here at Talladega, and we'll see all those different strategies. Those guys that are on the outside looking in, do they run up front, try to lead laps all race? Do we see guys play conservative? Going to be a whole lot going down, but no matter what happens in those first 83 laps, Jacob, we know lap 84 going to be a crapshoot out of that final corner, and we'll definitely produce a classic Talladega finish.
That will be the lap that matters, because it is all about win and you are in. The only driver safe right now is the championship leader and the one who's dominated this whole season, Eric Brundy's the Shell Pennzoil number 94 Ford. The only driver who knows for a fact that he is safe. And, you know, he's got the advantage of maybe going to the back, playing it safe, and knowing that he is in the Eliminator 8, but most of these guys, there's only one way that they know for sure that they're going to move to that next bracket. Like we said, Evan, it is by winning. Brad Keselowski did it yesterday afternoon in what I'm calling the Talladega Miracle. Who's got the best shot to pull off the miracle tonight and advance to the 3rd round?
I'm pulling for Steve Gottschalk. We say that, Jacob, because he had such a tough break last week. Lost 5 positions. He's on the outside. He was the fastest in practice when he hooked up with Doug Manning by 2/10 over anybody else. So if those guys are able to get hooked up, and that being said, Gottschalk only right now 16th on the qualifying charts, but he's able to approach this race methodically and pick his way through, and actually he's working with Doug Manning right now. Jacob, I think if you get those 2 guys hooked up late in the going, I think we can definitely see Gottschalk get a solid finish and try to advance on points. Not only that, but also possibly put that Chevrolet in victory lane and take the more safe route and put it in victory lane. However, it's not going to be that safe here at Talladega, but I definitely think we're going to be able to see a solid effort from Gottschalk on that team as the 91 car is going to try to advance here to the next round.
And of course, there's always the possibility that we could have a non-chaser go to victory lane and spoil the entire party for these guys. We've seen it happen a couple of times during these chase rounds already. In fact, 3 of the first 5 chase races, Evan, have produced non-chasers going to victory lane. John Higman did it. The 20 Machine of David Comstock did it. The Meatball Mobile did it. Jose Gonzalez, after being eliminated the week prior. So we know it's not a safe bet for any of these chasers, but what do you watch for? And tonight, what I'm watching for is the guys on the front row. One of them can win and get in. That's Dan Murray. To his outside, got it stolen away by 2/1000ths of a second in the final moments. Brennan Mercer, he's got a great seat to the front of the party. He starts P2 tonight.
How about row number 2, Kevin Linden, the 48 Chevrolet, will be in that number 3 starting position, and John Higman Jr. able to get a P4 time in qualifying. He'll start outside row 2.
Row 3 tonight going to be Scott Simley, who would like nothing more than to win and advance to his outside. Another non-chaser, that's Jamie Pitts in the 99.
Rich Jet going to be the inside on that next row, going to be P7 alongside him, the 43 machine Doug Roth in 8th.
9th tonight, Steve Gottschalk. You talked about him, Evan. He starts the 91 from the inside of row 5. Corbin Hemstreet to his outside. The 69 rolls 10th.
Denzel rolls into this one about 16 points to the good. He'll be starting P11 alongside him. Going to be Nathan Little, that 41 machine.
41 rolls 12th. 13th right behind him, the 11 of Jonathan Cadell, one of the chasers. C.J. LeVere, another chase driver, rolls from the outside of row 7 in 14th.
Eric Arnold going to be occupying the number 15 starting position alongside him, that 51 machine, Doug Manning, P16.
17th to 20, David Comstock. He's won once already. He'd like to make it 2. Mark Bratcher, the Zloop, number 25, 18th on the grid tonight.
Matt Lacrosse, the 21 machine, supporting that pink car for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, going to be starting the inside of row 10. Jacob, that's 19th position. Justin Wilson going to round out the top 20.
21st tonight, going to be the 92 of former chaser Jason Lester. 22nd, the number 85 Roll Speed Dynamics Toyota. That's Adam Benefiel, one of our championship favorites. 23rd, another favorite, Thomas J. George rolls, and alongside him, the championship leader, the 94. That's Eric Brundys, who knows he's in the next round.
Cody Gibson going to be starting in the number 25 position alongside him. Ex-chaser Brandon Peterson up top. Rhett McBride going to be down on the inside lane. The last car in the championship standings entering tonight in the points wants to obviously get a solid finish or win and advance. Alongside him going to be Mitch Rollo.
Rollo, he's got a long road to hoe, as does the 02 J. Randall Watkins, rolling 29th. 30th tonight, the 84 Jimmy North. 31st. Last car on speed, that's James Robinson. Provisionals tonight going to Douglas Wyatt in the 9, John Wilco in the 62, the 98 of Stephen Herring for a projected 34-car field. Evan, tools to the race. I know there's got to be a few of them. What are we going to see tonight? What's it going to take to go to victory lane at the baddest track in NASCAR?
Make it to the end. It's that simple. And again, we're going to see different strategies, much like we did in the Cup race on Sunday. You're going to see some of these guys that they really can't afford to hang around in the back. They're going to have to go up front. They're going to have to try to lead laps and get the job done. You're also going to see those people hang back towards the tail end of this lead trap, try to avoid the troubles up front, depending on how this race goes. Possible green flag pit stops, getting with a group of guys that you can draft with, and not hanging too far back, being out of contention, and then obviously ending up on the outside looking in when it is all said and done. So going to be a lot of strategies in play here, Jacob, and only one person's going to be able to walk away with that checkered flag, but 4 chase drivers, their hopes at a championship going to end after 84 laps.
That is right, and we have got just under 225 miles to figure out exactly how it is going to shake out as the field heads down. Remember, the start-finish line not in the center of the tri-oval like every other track we go to. Instead, it's about 1,000 yards after that towards the entrance of Turn 1. iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car heads off to the safety of pit road, and boy, it's going to be a safe place. We're glad you're with us on LSRTV. The American Ethanol green flag will fly, and we will go green at Talladega Superspeedway. Dan Murray on the jump, trying to get away in a quick hurry from Brennan Mercer, who I thought was going to fall into second. No, Kevin Linden trying to challenge for that runner-up spot with no help. The pack trying to build some momentum. They steam toward Turn 2.
Yeah, pretty spread out through 1 and 2, and that attributes for the fact that Dan Murray kind of went a little bit before the drop of the green flag. That's going to hurt him here down the back straightaway. There goes the 29 car. Brennan Mercer got hooked up. The 60 of John Higman Jr. They're going to easily clear that inside line down into 3 and 4, and they will drop down to the bottom as they are clear of that 55 machine. So Dan Murray, a little bit of a questionable strategy, went a little bit before the drop of the green flag. Jacob, it cost him down the back straightaway. He now has help for the 48 of Kevin Linden. Mercer actually has to jump back up high to catch the 60 who he's drafting with. That's going to be Higman Jr. So Dan Murray's actually going to get another shot, and he'll lead lap 1 on the bottom, the 48 machine on his back bumper.
I wasn't so sure that was going to happen until right at the start-finish line, but that's going to show you what the key to maybe the last lap is going to be, because it's going to take that last burst of energy to get to that start-finish line. First down the back straightaway, the partners starting to tango again. Higman pushing Mercer back to the lead, and he is clear by a mighty long way. Those two going to drop down in front of this field, put the 29 to the top of the leaderboard in 3.
Two more cars trying to make the outside lane work. 99 at Jamie Pitts working with the 36 machine of Rich Jett, and the 99 is going to jump down in line. 36 is not sure if he's going to be able to be clear because the 43 of Doug Roth down on the inside is going to get there. So that will leave Rich Jett out to dry on the outside lane as the top now 8 cars, single file at the stripe. 36 going the wrong direction. He wants to find a spot in line. First car that's going to get to him up top is going to be the 41 at 8th and Little. Expect those two to try to hook up, but not before Jett drops well outside of the top 10. CJ LaVere clears him. That's about P11.
It is about P11 because the top 10 or so have all gone single file right now. Evan, is this what we're going to see for the early laps? Do we honestly think these guys are going to settle out and take a breather here, or is it going to be a nightmare again in a hurry?
They might try to make us think that they're going to ride single file, but again, a lot of these drivers, they don't like riding in line. If you're in that middle of the pack, and not so much in the single file situation, but at a side-by-side, you really have nowhere to go if you're on the bottom. You got a car on your right-hand side and nothing on your left-hand side. So you really don't want to ride around depending on your strategy. A couple cars going to go to the top, the 99 and the 43, but you can't really pass on that bottom, Jacob. That's where you ride. I'm sure we'll see a couple of 2-car tandems jump at a line like we're seeing the 99 and the 43 do. Try to make a charge up front, maybe drop down in line at the front, and then they'll ride a little bit. So the outside lane is going to be the passing lane. So if you're on the bottom, you just kind of got to ride till somebody sticks that hand out the window and says, let's go.
The catch, though, is if you're at the bottom, number one, it is the shortest way around the racetrack, and number two, it really does allow you to defend your position, because it's kind of a mix here between the tandem racing and the pack racing that we're so used to, so accustomed to seeing. But you really do have the option to defend your position if you've got somebody coming on that outside with a run. We saw it all day Sunday. Jimmy Johnson, guys like that going from the bottom to the top, to the bottom to the top, making it 3 rows wide by themselves as we see almost 3 wide for the lead. I think Jamie Pitts decided it was time to go. You talked about that outside lane, Evan, being the lane to try and get a run in. They've got a run, and they've got the lead.
And that's because that 60 machine just not pushing on the back of Brennan Mercer. So once again, man, the 36 of Rich Jett left out to dry again, Jacob. That's 2 times already in the opening 5 laps. He dropped back to about 12. Got back up the 4th there and is going to start sliding the wrong direction. Going to be curious to see if anybody wants to step out and help him. Not at the moment as he slides back now side by side with Dan Murray. 36 machine going to be about 6th position at the start-finish line. But again, perfectly executed by the 99 of Jamie Pitts, the 43 of Doug Roth. You go up there, you push, you drop down in line, and you ride a little bit off each other's bumper. Let that 43 of Roth get some air to that engine. And then that way, if those guys go back to the outside, as you said, Jacob, you're able to push, try to defend that position a little bit. 29 of Mercer thinks about it. He steps up. 60 machine not going with him. He'll drop back down.
He will drop down for now, and we go on board with Brennan Mercer in the 29 as he sits 3rd, maybe taking a peek to challenge for the lead. They're 2 wide from about 6th place on back. The front 5 ride single file, but Dan Murray, I think they'd like to make that a 3-car train to the outside, pick up some of that momentum. There goes Murray to the top side. There goes Brennan Mercer to the top side now. That outside lane's coming with a run again, and it's going to be door-to-door for the lead by the time they get to turn 2.
Yeah, now the 29's going to get that help for the 55, so Murray and Mercer now hooked up in the outside lane, and that Amsoil Toyota actually losing contact with the back bumper of that 29 machine, so not going to get the run that they want, but obviously the outside lane going to have a little bit more momentum coming off the corner, coming down that hill, especially if they get hooked up, and you'll see these guys, they'll try to pinch that inside lane down, try to get whatever side draft you can here with the current aero package on iRacing, and right there you see 29-55 get hooked up, and even though the 99, the 43 start pushing on the inside, the outside is just going to have more momentum when they're hooked up. It's just the way the aero package works here. As the 29-55 becomes separated once again. Temporary advantage to Jamie Pitts. But again, don't count out Mercer and Murray once they get hooked back up. Trying to challenge for P2 with the stripe.
Now, the toughest part to all this, Evan, is the fact that you look at these tandems right now, the question's going to become, are you going to have room, if you're in one of these tandems pushing on the last lap, are you going to have room to try and swing out and make a pass? Or is it going to be so tight, so close quarters that like we saw at Daytona in February when Regan Smith snipped by to win the nationwide race, is it going to be so congested that you've just got to basically push the line that you're in and whatever happens at the front of it happens?
We've seen many times here where you'll be side by side coming off of quarter number 4, and the car that's pushing that leader down on the bottom lane does not have an opportunity. And the age-old question, do you want to lead, do you want to be second coming to the start-finish line? Doesn't matter if that second car can't go anywhere because there's an outside lane, and sometimes they'll try to play a hero move coming out of the tri-oval, duck low, maybe try to squeeze through in the middle, but a lot of times they're almost forced to just push that guy in front of them, especially if they're teammates. I think it wouldn't be as bad as a deal, but you can see the desperation would obviously come into effect if that car that's stuck there, maybe on the inside, Jacob's second car in line with nowhere to go, needs a win to advance. That's where things can get pretty wild. Outside lane making some good progress. Mercer can actually have a nose advantage down to quarter number 3.
Yeah, he is for now, and he's going to have a little bit more than that. That got tight, but Mercer slides down in front of Jamie Pitts to grab the lead away, and that was a move where he made the space, almost chopped the front end of that 99, and now they're going to be the new drafting tandem as they work on the bottom to the start-finish line, and I find it hard to believe that we are already working lap number 10 of 84. I didn't expect these guys to be able, honestly, to race this clean, this long early in the going.
And also to mention, this is one of our M100 races, Jacob. So 2 drivers, if they go to victory lane, are going to be able to walk away with a $50 bonus check in their back pocket. That's going to be Scott Simley and Adam Benefield. So not only championship on the line for those drivers, but maybe a little bit of cash incentive at the end of it all.
Let's talk a little bit more about that M100 program, Evan, for some of the RSR viewers who may not have tuned into the series full-time this year, because like you said, it's more than a championship for 2 of our championship contenders. There is actual cash on the line for those guys if they can pull off the result that they're hoping for tonight.
Yeah, Talladega, obviously tonight being one of those races. I know the Brickyard was back about race 18. A couple of races, about 1 per segment. I know Daytona opening the season was one of them, and that's created these eligible drivers. And again, can't complain with the win at Talladega, a ticket to the next round, and also $50 cash.
Absolutely not. But right now, looking, Scott Simley sitting back in 11th and Benefield 20th. They've got a long road to hoe if they want to get some cash out of this. 11 laps in, still 73 laps to go. We have got a lot of time left in this race, and Brennan Mercer may be about to lose his time at the front of the field. He's got no drafting help from John Higman, and Jamie Pitts, he's going right to the outside and right back to the lead with help from the 43 of Doug Roth. A little bit new colors tonight on that 43 machine. We're used to the petty blue and red on that car, but he just pushed the 99 to the front.
Yeah, and one of the questions you have to ask yourself, and we've seen it be moved by guys like Brendan Mercer here in the opening stages, is you're obviously going to need that 2-car tandem up top to complete the pass. The question is, do you wait outside long enough to have that guy behind you drop down in line? There'll be times that you'll be racing here at these restrictor plate racetracks, and you'll be clear of the inside line, but the question is, do you leave that guy behind you hung out to dry? Because you're going to need friends at some point in this race. Racers don't forget things, so the 99, the 43, they become separated, but I wouldn't be surprised in both situations. You could see Jamie Pitts drop down in front of the inside line, or he'll even stay out on the outside. Even though he's clear, those guys on the inside would get back to side by side with him, but because he stays up high with the 43 machine, waits till they both get clear, drop down in line, then he can kind of count that 43 maybe paying him back to favor later on.
Yeah, and I'm looking a little bit back deeper in this field right now. I know obviously we're keeping an eye on the battle for the lead, but I'm looking a little bit further in this field. Inside lane, about 12th position, Steve Gottschalk, one of the guys you mentioned very much in this. He's about 6th on the inside lane right now. Not got a lot of help, and he's been a little bit squirrely in the draft the last couple of laps. You just don't want to make a mistake here early in the going, because especially when these guys are 2 and sometimes 3 wide like they've been, one mistake and you're going to take out 10, 15 cars and potentially end somebody's chase hose.
And right now, you know, the pressure's not that much on it. I mean, they're pretty tightly packed together, but these drivers can navigate these plate tracks. So right now, it's pretty calm for them, but you'll see those white hash marks through the corner. Right now, those guys on the inside, they have a lot of room to play with. Those guys up at the middle line, riding in between those two hash marks, kind of the middle lane. When we get down to these later stages of the race, Jacob, those guys in that middle lane are going to nearly be all the way down into that first, quote, groove on a racetrack below those white hash marks in the corner, which means those guys on the inside have a lot less room to wiggle in the corner. So right now things are calm, but later on in the race, when you start to see the outside lane get desperate, they start to pinch down, try to take the air off those cars on the inside lane. That's when things can obviously go downhill very quickly. So the guys on the inside right now just kind of riding. Gottschalk's actually picked up quite a fair amount of spots. He's 13th right now. But again, you mentioned about 6th place on the inside lane as the battle for the top spots continue to rage on. The 43 to 99 just can't stay hooked up long enough, Jake, to complete that pass.
Yeah, and you know, I'm looking at that change for the lead off turn number 2. That's one of the guys that we've not talked about yet today. CJ LeVere, one of our chasers in the number 4. He needs to win and advance tonight. He just took the top spot away last time by the stripe. This time by lost it to Jamie Pitts, and may lose it again by the time they get back through the trioval because Brennan Mercer's got a head of steam on the outside, though I don't think he's going to keep it at the line this time. John Higman gave him a whale of a push there coming through the trioval, and you know, we saw the 29 and the 60 work together in the early goings, and now we're seeing everybody change up their dancing partners just a little bit.
We got two cars that have really lost the draft. James Robinson, John Wilco, about 5 and then 4 seconds back respectively. So if this green flag run continues, they will obviously be in some severe jeopardy of losing their lead lap status. But the outside lane, Mercer with help for the 99. Does Brennan drop down in front of the 4? Not quite clear, as CJ LeVere holds a nose at that left quarter panel through the corner, but no help. He's got about a car length back to the 60 machine on the inside line. So there goes that top lane 99 helping Brennan Mercer. They'll get clear by a couple car lengths. By the time we get to the start-finish line, they will drop down, and that now leaves the 43 machine without help. The question will be, does the 55 work with them? Does Dan Murray help the 43, or do him and the 11? How about Jonathan Cadell starting to get up into the mix after starting 13th position? Looks like they'll stay in line now as the 99 drops up back to the high side. Jamie Pitts wants the top spot.
At Talladega, Evan, you work with whoever you can find, because it doesn't matter who your teammates are. Your friends are whoever the line that you're in and whoever can push you to the front the quickest. Exactly like we talked about yesterday afternoon, the total irony that Talladega can produce. Matt Kenseth, who a week ago was in a fight with Brad Keselowski at Charlotte, pushed Keselowski to the win in the Cup Series event. And we've seen a few of those rivalries heat up in the RSR Series too. I'm not convinced that you might not have to rely on somebody who maybe you don't always get along with to maybe trust in them to get to the front late in the going. It's too wide right now, but like I said, your friends are where you make them, and your friends are whoever can get you to that lead spot on lap 84, the only one that really matters.
And not only that, but we could see some Jimmy Johnson situations here, Jacob, where these guys know who they're racing with. They know who's in the championship battle. They've looked over the points here entering tonight. They got spotters, most of them do live, real people that'll be kind of tracking positions of the other drivers. You could, wind up in the situation that 48 car did in the weekend and be stuck around a whole bunch of guys that are fighting against you in the championship standings and may just be completely left by them as well. But then also on the flip side of that, you said the irony of the fact that you may have to rely on somebody that you're battling against, or somebody that you're battling against may evidently be the car that pushes you to the win, because on that last lap, and I think you can have a little bit of teamwork, a little bit of gamesmanship here in these opening stages, Jacob, but you're right. Once you get down to those closing laps, it really doesn't matter where your teammate is. That'll be when you'll leave him on the outside lane. It'll be when you put it 3 wide to try to take the spots from him. So right now, I think you can kind of rely on a couple of teammates, a little bit of alliances that these guys discussed.
Oh, big trouble back in the pack. David Comstock's around and into the pack. Matt Lacrosse is in it. We have got cars scattered everywhere coming to complete lap 19. It is a junkyard that started about halfway through the pack, and it is a mess right now. I'm going to have to take a look at that. That was one of those things where you couldn't see exactly how it started, just how it ended, with a ton of cars wadded up, coming into the tri-oval. That happened, Evan, off the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, Lacrosse just got in there too hard into 3 and kind of pushed up the hill, and as he tried to come back down, or rather as the 31 tried to follow him up the hill, Eric Arnold hooked him on that left rear, and the 20 at Comstock jumped down in line. Jacob was just about fine, caught the 1 of Thomas J. George, and then again, everybody behind him piled on into that incident. The 42 of Stenzel involved, Mitch Rollo, the 78 in that one as well. So a good number of cars, about 6-7 cars, going to get some major damage here, and we slow them down after about 20 laps of green flag racing.
Am I the only one that's surprised that it took that long to have a big incident like we just had, Evan? I thought it would happen a whole lot sooner than this. I'm impressed that we went a little more than 50 miles without having some major carnage.
And again, that incident wasn't even caused from over driving. It's just one of those things. You go down into the corner, Matt Lacrosse maybe didn't engage how hard he had to turn that car in because he was tucked up against the back bumper at that 11 machine and just overdrove it. And Eric Arnold tried to chase him back up, get back hooked up, evidently turns them. So I think it was fairly calm for the start of the race, Jacob. We're about a quarter of the way through, so I think we'll still be able to kind of take a deep breath here as leaders come down for our first trips down pit lane tonight. But as we start to progress, you're not going to see double file for much longer. You're going to be triple wide later on. But Brendan Mercer going to be the first car down into a stall.
Yeah, Mercer's going to lead this whole crew down pit road. I'm watching Dan Murray get ready to pull into the pit stall. Already work going on. It looks like a whole lot of 2 tires, mostly left sides. Mercer not going to be the car to win the race off pit road. He'll come off second behind C.J. Levere, and actually Jonathan Cadell looks like, Evan, he missed his pit stall, so while the 11, the leader, right this second, he will not stay there. He'll have to come back down pit road for service.
And that's not uncommon to see here at Talladega. I mean, you got to look at Jonathan Cadell. He entered pit road quite back in the pack. He was by the 51 machine back there with the 02, and you know, everybody's just so close together. They were kind of double file too, hitting their pit stalls down there on pit road, and the 11 machine either looking at the cars around them, trying to gauge where everybody else was because he had to check up, I think, for the 51 machine. Just missed his stall. Just, didn't catch the pit sign there to come down, and it's going to have to drive through. And, you know, you have to say it's going to hurt him because he's going to have to come down this next time by. But again, still early on in this race, but Cadell's going to be mirrored back to about 32nd spot when it's all said and done. Rhett McBride, Stephen Herring right now, the only 2 cars that are off at the lead lap. Rhett McBride still on track. Herring currently behind the wall or taking a tow to get that machine repaired.
So, under caution, working 21 laps complete and just coming off our first major incident here from Talladega Superspeedway. And Rhett McBride, oh boy, Evan, he's one of our championship contenders. Looking at this, he's 33rd right now on scoring. Is this the end of his championship road?
Well, he entered tonight dead last, Jacob, out of the 12 drivers that remained, and he was about 14 points away from the final cutoff spot. So a solid run would have got him in, but with all that damage, Talladega so aero-sensitive, he's pretty torn up on both the back and the right front. You need to be able to have a solid back bumper if you want to be able to get that push. You need to have a nose if you want to push. So I think he's going to have to go out there just kind of ride around, which is going to be very, frustrating, Jacob, for the 2 car entering tonight. He's going to be behind the pack here, most likely off pace significantly, and he'll just have to hope that enough guys drop out or he'll gain enough spots to be able to get enough of that damage fixed throughout the race that he'll be able to maybe get in a position. But it does not help that he entered in the hole as opposed to some of these drivers. Scott Stenzel involved in that incident, but he's the second highest driver entering tonight's race on points. So almost similar to Kyle Busch, he can kind of afford some sort of an error, but he's down pit road, Jacob, absolutely torn up 1 lap down. So that's looking pretty dire. I'm pretty sure he's on the outside at this point if we were to have a live points update. But he sits 32nd position, torn up as well. But again, he has a little bit more leeway going into this, but definitely not comfortable where he sits right now. But the lights are off at a pace car, and we'll go back green on lap 23.
Yeah, we will, and that's after Stenzel finished 22nd in the Camping World Truck Series event at Talladega on Saturday afternoon. So this not the way he wanted to see his Talladega event go, and it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we know we're not done wrecking just yet, Evan. So we've got about half a lap before green here, and This looks remarkably similar to how we started this race. Brennan Mercer there on the point, but how about CJ LeVere up to second in the early going? Win and you're in? LeVere seems to think so.
Yeah, I was going to say, props to the number 4 machine, Cell Pennzoil on that for the Joey Logano-inspired design here, as he'll be starting in second position. He qualified back in 14th, so picked up 13 positions in the opening about 20 laps or so. So CJ, again, coming in on the last transfer spot by only 1 point, making things easy for him right now as he sits up front.
He does, and the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car is going to head for the safety of pit road, and I think that's about the only safe place here from the Talladega Super Speedway. As we're 22 laps in, we're set to go back green flag racing, and Brennan Mercer is ready to go with a push from Kevin Linden as we're waiting on it. He's holding them back a long time here. Now the green flag flies. I think Mercer may have almost waited too long. We're back under the American Ethanol green flag.
We got a car spinning in the trial, but caution's out.
And the
9, sorry.
Check, yeah, the 9 car, I think, is the car that went around there, Evan. And, we thought we were going, and then we weren't going. So Doug Wyatt slows the pace for what's going to officially be the second time here this evening at Talladega. And it was relatively harmless. I mean, we didn't tear anything up.
He was in line and started to get on the gas, and again, a lot of these guys have spotters letting them know that the guys up front are going green, and it looks like the 5 car in front of him just did not get a solid start, that being Cody Gibson, and as Douglas Wyatt was probably getting through the gears there, just now shifting up, or getting on the throttle, you gotta have to deal with a little bit of tire spin. It's Talladega, so it's really not that outrageous, but, turn the wheel to the right to try to get to the outside. You can pass at the outside without being black flagged, and just went up there, just lost it. Obviously, with that tire spin, sent them right around into the wall. Pretty good lick to the front end, but doesn't look like there's any substantial damage on it. A little bit of right front damage that he'll come in and obviously get repaired from that. But he should be able to recover quite easily, and we go quickly back to caution. You talked about Brennan Mercer starting. I think Brennan was kind of taking note on what happened to Dan Murray, and at all these other racetracks, Jacob, these guys are going to have for the pace car hits pit road to the green flag flies to start this race. There's not much of an advantage to be gained by jumping the start here unless you're talking with your teammate right behind you in third and you guys try to set sail. But Murray left a little bit early. He got freight trained down the back straightaway. He was lucky those guys on the outside got separated, or he would have dropped back to about 5th position. He was able to lead that lead lap, but I think Brennan was trying to hang back as much as he could so that those guys behind him could get him a great shot down the 1.
He tried, and we don't really get to see how it plays out because we're under yellow here with 23 laps complete. We're going to use this opportunity, since a relatively harmless caution, to grab a caution flag of our own, take a break here from Talladega Super Speedway, and we'll be back with more green flag insanity as part of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series here on LSRTV in just a moment from Talladega Super Speedway. This is LSR. We'll be right back.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway, the most unpredictable track in NASCAR and in racing in general. And tonight, iRacing brings you the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series and round 6 of the chase for the Full Throttle Cup. Jacob Steelman and Evan Pasoko here in the tower for LSRTV as we are now 25 laps complete when we go back to green flag racing. And Brennan Mercer, CJ LeVay are going to restart on the front row in just a moment when we go back to green flag action. And Evan, we saw 2 quick cautions here after a pretty sizable green flag stint to start this race. And now, just over a quarter through it, I think we're seeing right now that if you started at the front, you can stay there, and if you didn't, boy, you're having a tough time coming through this field.
And the light's still on the pace car as we run right now, but there's a couple of our chasers right now, Jacob, still down on pit road getting repairs. About 30 cars still on the lead lap. Douglas Wyatt on pit road. He now rolls off. Scott Stenzel has some pretty severe front-end damage on his yellow stripe Chevrolet. Again, one of the drivers entering tonight that was one of the better ones, good on points, but a P29 result for him at the moment will not cut it if he wants to be able to advance. And again, no quick fixes, Jacob. You can't come down there and get a brand new race car, so these guys have to sit down there for whatever the time that iRacing decides that it will take for them to get their cars back to not 100%, but back to as much as they will be repaired as Stenzel rolls. Again, that front end severely torn up. I know Peterson is working a lot of damage. How about Adam Benefield? Car clean, but back in 24th position. One of the drivers that is going to be shooting not only for that $50 bonus, Jacob, but much like we saw the Cup Series, entering tonight, obviously has been one of the dominant drivers in the season and in the opening round of the chase, entering tonight in on the outside looking in by 5 points after a rough race at Kansas 2 weeks ago. So Adam Benefield, one of the drivers that definitely is going to have to move forward from where he sits, Jacob, right now if he wants to be able to qualify. But again, playing that hang at the back strategy, he'll be 24th at the line. The 55 at Dan Murray's now back there after being up front in the opening stages. He was about 21st last time at the stripe. So a lot of these guys may be starting to drop towards the back, try to play it safe, and hopefully are going to be able to try to come back through this field at about 20, maybe 10 to go, depending on caution situations, to get the finish that they want. But you don't want to get trapped back there and obviously not make the cutoff, but it's just the nature, the beast that is Talladega, the different strategies that you have to approach and sometimes don't work out in your favor.
And yet again, we see the lights back on one more time on the pace car, so I'd be curious to drop down and get a listen on the radio to see what race control has to say. I'm a little puzzled at why we're hanging on to this caution as long as we are. I expected we ought to be at least one to go this time by, Evan, but a little bit of a lengthy caution here, and I'm puzzled watching it as to quite why.
I know Douglas Wyatt going to be given an EOL penalty at the moment. Stephen Herring's actually brought his 98 machine behind the wall. But I don't see, a situation where race control, sometimes they'll delay the caution to ensure that everybody, gets in proper position. I think it may have to do with all the fact that everybody's so spread out. It's not going to give them the one to go to the two to go because of where the caution flew with all those lap cars coming down pit road. I didn't determine that the field was, grouped up enough maybe to get the two to the one to go. But I do anticipate the lights to go for the pace car this time by as we roll through the trial. Well, that would set us up for, I want to say, a lap 28 restart, but we'll have to keep an eye on again, no real changes to talk about in the lineup here because, again, essentially the same as the last time by when we saw that spin coming off at a restart. So we'll see if we get the one to go pace car get across the start-finish line this time by, and we'll keep an eye on those lights on the roof, and they are going to go off, Jacob, so one to go.
That is a good sign. Before we go back green, can I give a call to somebody who's worked his way very quietly from about the 30s all the way up to 9th place. How about the 02? J. Randall Watkins going to restart from the inside of row number 5, and I wouldn't have expected that. You know, I was talking about guys not being able to make moves. That 02 car has made moves. He's picked up almost 20 positions from where he started the afternoon, and he's put himself in mighty fine position.
We've had a couple of guys that we've seen move from the pack towards the top half of this field, and in the same regards, we've seen a lot of these guys go from the front of this field to the back. And we passed the quarter distance mark under that most previous caution there, pretty much right when that caution flew and we tried to go back green. So the intensity is going to pick up a little bit, Jacob. We still have, just under 60 laps to go in this race. So still going to be calm again, and I talked about the pinching down that the outside lane is going to be doing later on in the race, but slowly and surely as we start to knock laps off, the intensity is going to pick up. You're going to see those guys at the back quit riding around, more people trying to go to the high side, get a two-car tandem going, try to work their way back up to the front, but you have to be careful because we've seen a couple times here guys just get absolutely left up on that outside lane. The guy in front of him will either drop down in line or they'll be stuck as the third car in line, the odd man out, get stranded and lose a lot of position. So you got to know that somebody's going to stick with you here or it can go downhill. So again, the risk versus reward is going to obviously be a factor here as we roll out of 4, getting set for our third restart of the race.
Yeah, and this is going to be another restart where you want to make moves because you can head forward here if you pick the right lane at the right moment. And the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car once again is going to take that long trek down the pit road, leave the field in the hands again of Brennan Mercer, who brings the field into the tri-oval. And again, he's waiting on this restart, trying to time it with his drafting partner, John Higman Jr. behind him. American Ethanol green flag goes in the air. He's got the push, and Brennan Mercer going to have the lead by a full car length. He's clear of C.J. LeVere as the tandems start to form up again, headed to turn 1.
How about a 48 of Kevin Linden, again continuing his solid run tonight at a bobble in 1 and 2. He's able to hang on to it. That checks up Doug Roth. Most importantly, it leaves the 4 of C.J. LeVere without somebody tucked up behind him. They'll drop significantly back to about 4th place as 3-4 cars going to get clear. We got a big checkup in the middle of the pack and 2 cars into the inside wall. Jimmy North and Thomas J. George. Caution's going to fly.
Yeah, and that's another chaser that's involved. Oh, we've got more problems there, headed towards turn number 3. The 25 of Mark Gratcher's in it. The 2 of Brett McBride in it again. Disaster for the chasers continue here tonight. And oh boy, Evan, this one is hard again. McBride is done. And let's take another look at this because this is disastrous for the 1.
Rhett McBride was so far behind it. And it was the initial spin that sent those 2 cars down to the apron. McBride was fine. And, he pretty much stayed on the gas. The caution flag was already out. And then it's the 25 machine that gets turned around a couple seconds after the caution flag actually flew. Bratcher getting turned around after he got clipped by the 84 of Jimmy North, tried to save it. He spun around in front of the 62 machine. And, the 62 went high, and out of nowhere, here comes Rhett McBride thinking that he should be clear by now. Drives right into the back of the 62 machine. Heavy black smoke pouring from the back of his machine as he rolls down pit road. I think he's actually lost that engine, Jacob. The 2 car's pretty much done at this point, and he's gone. Behind the wall, night's over.
Yeah, and we're going to see if we can't get a word with him here in a moment because I think that will officially end Rhett McBride's championship hopes, Evan. Disastrous. And for Thomas J. George as well, he came into this needing a good run to advance, and now he's in a disastrous place as well.
Yeah, and Stenzel, how about Scott Stenzel was back there as well, almost in the similar boat as Rhett McBride. He was able to, get away with it and not get caught up in the incident. But again, a lot of these guys, when you get stuck back in a pack, there's just no way to guarantee that you're going to be safe because there's no way to predict. And sometimes it's even hard to see what's going up in front of you with all that smoke.
It is hard to see. And Evan, I want to see if we can't dial him up here on the radio because just what a disastrous turn of events for the driver of car number 2. And we'll see if we can't pull him in right now. Rhett McBride, Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko up here in the broadcast booth. It looked like you had it missed, and then everything broke loose right there, and it just looked like you had no place to go. What happened?
Which one? This latest one?
The one that you were just involved in. Again.
Yeah, yeah, didn't see it.
Now we see you done. We know you needed this as far as to try and bolster your championship hopes. Now they pretty much done here. How tough is Talladega going to be to swallow for you and the 2 team?
Oh man, we've been slow these last few races. You know, just had some bad luck, so I really didn't expect a whole lot coming out of here. So, you know, it's kind of weird. You just don't worry about it when when you're in our position. If you luck in and get a win, then great. If not, no big deal.
Still a championship class. Appreciate you taking a couple seconds to talk with us here, and wish you the best of luck. Still 4 races to go out and try to get a win.
10-4, buddy. Thank you, man.
Evan, I want to throw it back to you here on this one because, wow, that just happened.
It's been a reoccurring theme, and even when you think you're safe, again, the strange part of the incident comes back to the fact that working that damage so far back that the incident was in front of him, the caution was out. It was that secondary wreck that saw Bradshire trying to hang on to it, spun, and he couldn't see him. I mean, he heard it there, he talked to us there. The fact that he was up high, there was smoke, he figured it was from the cars that had spun down to the inside wall. Next thing he knows, he's hard into the back bumper of a car essentially stopped in the middle of the racetrack. And it's going to all go back to the fact that qualifying. You got to look back. I mean, 15-minute open qualifier, it's a chain of events. It's not the one incident. I mean, Brad, we know he's got the speed, Jacob. But qualifying 27th, had him back in the pack. You know, you have to say, what if? What if he avoided that first incident? He wouldn't have been back there. There's so many different, variables that can come to effect. And unfortunately, it's going to be the number 2 team that comes up with the short end of the straw there. And again, their championship hopes. And I didn't really want to call it a long shot entering tonight because, again, they were at the very back of those cars that were still, battling for the championship. 14 points out of a transfer spot. But anything could happen at Talladega, but it wasn't working for him. We knew when he got that damage that it was going to be rough. And things, unfortunately, going to come to a close here very early on also in this race.
Very, very early on, and oh boy, this is going to shake everything up. Because, like we said coming in, nobody is safe. We saw it with Kyle Busch, and now we're seeing it again. Guys who have been dominant this whole season, like a Rhett McBride, a Thomas J. George who's won multiple times this season. It's Talladega. That's all I can say to that. It's Talladega, and in lieu of asking what that was, Evan, that just happened, I'm going to go ahead and say it right here. That's Talladega, and that just happened.
It is so unpredictable. And again, you can throw the strategy. Even if he was back there intentionally, Jacob, we talked about guys like we've seen towards the tail end of this field, maybe not by choice, but guys like Adam Benefield currently with sub-20 runs that essentially are in that boat that they need a top 5 to have a realistic shot at it, a win to guarantee their ticket to the next round. Back there in the pack, you think being behind the incident, you're going to be safe. And again, there's just so many different ways that it can end your night. And unfortunately, a lot of it out of control. You could almost relate it to a night out at the short track under the lights with a full moon. If it's not your night, it's not your night. You can be in here, Jacob, you can have 3 different wrecks that happen, 2 cars in front of you. You'll finish this race with a perfectly clean race car. You'll be, 5-10 seconds behind the incident. One thing happens and you're out of it. There's so much out of your control at Talladega, which really makes these drivers so uneasy coming into these ones. Even race leader Brendan Mercer has no guarantees on what's going to happen for the rest of the night.
That's right. And Brendan Mercer's not in the chase anymore, but he'd certainly like to steal one of these victories. Like he was saying over the radio a couple of weeks ago, he's got an RSR victory, but he's never won in the Full Throttle Cup Series. He'd like to change that tonight, I know, but the problem is you can't control your own destiny so much as everybody else controls your own destiny. We're only 32 laps, working 32 laps into this race, and how about this top 10, Evan? Because this goes to tell you exactly what Talladega is. Brendan Mercer leads it. John Higman, who won Chicagoland, is second. Corbin Hemstreet third. Scott Simley, one of our win and he's in guys, is fourth. J. Randall Watkins elevated to 5th after all that. C.J. LeVere 6th, another chaser. Kevin Linden 7th, appropriately driving a Jimmy Johnson paint scheme. Doug Roth 8th. Steve Gottschalk 9th. Doug Manning 10th. There are 2 chasers in the top 10. Everybody else is who knows where.
And I can guarantee you that the next time, and I say the next time because I guess you can pretty much call it a guarantee that we're not done with the carnage here at Talladega. Next time we get a caution, it could be, the complete opposite. And you know that these chase guys, they know how to get the job done. Some of them are where they sit by design. Some of them are where they sit because, again, there's just so many things that are out of their control. So we're going to see Mercer. John Hickman Jr. has been running a solid race in the Eaton Construction Ford after qualifying up inside the top 5. Jacob, he's on the outside. He's been pushing most of the race. I'd like to see that 60 machine lead some laps here.
Yeah, and then the question's going to be, can he do it, or does he fall in behind Mercer and continue to push the 29, where he has been so good so far? We're about to find out. We're going to complete 32 laps and go back to green flag racing here as the leaders work through the center of the tri-oval. Brennan Mercer one more time is waiting on the green flag from the starter's stand. And now the American Ethanol green flag waves one more time. And Hickman looks like going to get that half-car length jump, but he's going to have no help. It's going to be a matter of can he get clear, and no, he will not. The lead pack goes to turn 1. Corbin Hemstreet's now the dancing partner that's going to push Brennan Mercer to the race lead.
And that 60 machine's going to have to slide back a little bit before he can find Scott Simley for some help. That's going to give the inside about 3 cars lengths worth of advantage. How about Corbin Hemstreet? You were just talking about him. The number 69 Boomtown Sim Chevrolet has been fast at all these racetracks that we've gone to, and that team has just somehow, some way not found it to Victor Lane. Tonight could be the day as he tries to work with Brennan Mercer. If they get hooked up, the O2 is going to slowly start to slide back. That's J. Randall Watkins. He's hanging on to the draft. The 69 ducks that line for a moment. Going to be 3 cars leading that inside lane. Hickman on the outside lane with help from the 68 Assembly. Going to be about 3 car lengths back that lead that top lane.
Yeah, that top lane's not going anywhere, though, right now. The bottom lane is where all the momentum is, and look at Watkins still trying to climb forward. He's got aspirations of making it all the way to the lead here in just a moment, and we're going to go back a little further in this pack, or not so much further now because he's coming to the front. On board with the 94, the championship leader. That's Eric Brundy's in a special paint scheme tonight. Silver on that car for C&J Energy Services. A nod to Terry Labonte, if you will, who made his final Cup start yesterday at Talladega, and that's a nice looking paint scheme, Evan. I've enjoyed seeing it on the track for these first 34 laps, and Brundy's, he knows he's in. He just wants to get a win because he can.
He can almost play the role of spoiler that the non-chase drivers have been doing, Jacob, in the opening stages of this chase. Again, more than half of these wins so far since the chase started at Chicagoland have gone to non-chase drivers. So Brundy's already sitting on a win. He is the only driver that is guaranteed into the eliminator round that's going to be starting in 1 week's time at Martinsville. So he can almost play spoiler and maybe even take one away from the guy who finishes second, and that would evidently and possibly even cancel the
Hang on tight, 3 fight for the lead as they go into turn number 3. It's a dogfight at the front of the field. Corbin Hemstreet to the bottom. Brennan Mercer stuck in the sucker hole, and Jake Randall Watkins with help on the outside from John Hickman for a moment going for the lead. They're still wheel-to-wheel off turn number 4 and through the tri-oval. Now Watkins the one with no help as John Hickman gets to the back bumper of the 29 of Mercer. Mercer's the one that's going to come out of that fray, but they're still 3 by 3 behind the race lead.
Yeah, it looked like Mercer was going to be the one that was going to get left. He got help. The 60 of Hickman Jr. is going to push him through and clear there to the bottom and trying to set sail for not the first time tonight. We see the O2 of J. Randall Watkins going to be the one that's left out to dry. He'll dive back in line behind the 99 machine of Jamie Pitts, but that'll drop him back to about P10. Outside lane now is controlled once again. Scott sitting on the outside with help from 4 of C.J. LeVere. They're pushing down, and now at a quarter number 3 trying to close up. They're about 2 car lengths off at a point. Gets separated in 3 and 4. So does the inside lane. They'll try to get another shot at it at a 4.
Out of 4 they come, and it is getting scrambly up front. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to go with it, Evan, because it is, I mean, it's getting dicey. You've got 7, 8, 9 cars back under a blanket. Scott Simley's up to 3rd. He wants more. He's got a push from C.J. LeVere. That's 2 chasers. I think that's the first time all night we've seen that happen. Doug Roth's in the mix. Jamie Pitts is back in the mix. It's 2x2x2 all the way back through this field as they work down the super stretch. And it's going to be Scott Simley going to the race lead in a 4-car outside train.
How many of them do fit in line? 68 drops down, 4 drops down. Does Doug Roth leave the 99? No, not enough room. As Brennan Mercer once again is going to get a nose at that left rear quarter panel. They will now pull up behind CJ LeVere and new race leader Scott Simley as they roll through the tri-oval, and Mercer going to have to let the 60 machine know they got to back out of it. Nowhere to go, not worth shooting that 3 wide quite yet. Roth now leading the outside lane. Doug Roth has been up front all night. You touched on it, a little bit of different colors, not the petty blue that we're used to seeing on a 43 Chevrolet, but the 99 continues a solid run tonight. Jamie Pitts is going to push that 43 all the way to the lead as the inside got separated by about a half a car length and put that 43 car on point. Him and Jamie Pitts going to be clear. Expect them to drop down now into 3.
And there it is. They didn't even get to turn 3, and they knew the bottom was the place to be. So there's your change for the lead one more time. And how about Doug Roth? We've not talked about him a lot this season, Evan, and that 43 car's been in the mix a couple of times. I think he finished 5th at Richmond, if I'm not mistaken. He got a top 5 at Richmond, I remember that much, but it was kind of an afterthought when you consider the chase as far as that was concerned. But you know, we're looking at this now. He leads this race as Brennan Mercer, the 29. All of a sudden, he's the one that's going to get clotheslined right here with absolutely zero help. Now he's going to get it in the form of CJ LeVere. You see Scott Simley there on the bottom. He is getting out of the way in that 42 machine. His championship may be over, but he is not going to affect the guys who are running for it right now as the outside lane's moving again.
The 68 machine going to jump up to that outside lane now, down into 3. That's going to force CJ LeVere to have to push Scott Simley, which leaves Brennan Mercer kind of left out to dry a little bit. They're not totally hooked up, so he'll be able to kind of tag on and make that a 3-car tango up at the outside lane. And again, the outside's going to be the passing lane. We talked about it all night long. Inside, not pushing. They'll get hooked up for small spurts, but again, the thing that you're doing on the inside is you're trying to get some air to that engine and not stay hooked up all the time. So you see the 99, he'll push that 43 Roth down into 1 and 2, back off of it a little bit, and this is where that outside lane, if they were hooked up, would get that big run coming off of 2 down the back straightaway, try to get clear. But right now, Simley not getting much help. CJ LeVere trying to regain composure here, get back up to the back bumper, that Budweiser Ford. They'll drop back about even with him Street for about 5th car in line on the inside lane, and then get to try to mount another charge back into the front.
They're trying to. The problem is that outside lane all of a sudden does not have the steam that we've seen it have the last 15, 20 laps or so, because they're falling back for the first time all night, and it's going to be interesting to see if anybody jumps up there to try and save it. It's now 4 cars on the bottom single file. Corbin Hemstreet, Scott Simley side by side for position number 5. We just put 40 laps in the books, and we are about 5.2 miles from halfway in Talladega, and all of a sudden we've got the outside tandem making a move. Simley and LeVere, they are in lockstep, and they are challenging for the lead.
4-car going to have to back off, however, down into quarter number 3. That will give the temporary advantage to the inside lane. Again, being on that bottom, having a little bit of an upper hand going into the corner because you're almost diving down to the bottom. If you're up top, it's almost like you're going up the bank and stall out your momentum a little bit, and LeVere unable to get right back to the back bumper of Simley, so inside lane going to have the advantage by 3 car lengths. It is John Higman Jr., the 3rd car in lane on the bottom, 69 Corbin Hemstreet, going to be helping him. See if these guys going to try to make a move to the outside lane, as they would be that second tandem. 60 Machine's thinking about it, not enough room for Hemstreet because the 16's got another nose there. That could have been big trouble there, as Corbin Hemstreet caught that at the last second. Now the 68 of Simley, the Ford of CJ LeVere, going to try to take another shot at it out of the quarter number 2, but again, they just can't stay hooked up long enough, Jacob, that we have seen these successful tandems do to be able to get clear and get to the front.
That's right, and that's why the inside lane is finally working here at Talladega, as we see Kevin Linden duck 2 wheels below the yellow line, and that's not a place you want to go. You cannot make a move below that double yellow line on the apron. That is out of bounds here at the Super Speedway racetrack, 7, and it's really not a place you want to be at all. You get off that banking and onto the flat, and it's got a potential to shoot you right up sideways into the pack and to spark one of those huge Talladega wrecks that we're known for seeing.
The first incident that we saw there had a fair amount of cars, but the big one still remains when you have about 26 cars on the lead lap. A lot of them are spread out. We have this primary draft of cars, positions 1 through 15th. About 1 second separate them. 16th position through 19th, Benefield, Gibson, Cadell, and Dan Murray. A 4-car pack about 2.5 seconds off the lead. You have some more packs back here. 16 seconds back has a lot of these damaged cars. That's 20th position through, I want to say, 23rd. Going to be Comstock Wilson, Thomas J. George, and John Wilco. Douglas Wyatt by himself, Matt Lacrosse, Brandon Peterson, the final tandem, 34 seconds back. But again, this lead draft, about 15 cars, still only separated by about 1 second on the racetrack right now, and only 3 cars try to make that outside lane work. Everybody else rides the bottom.
Yeah, normally at this point, this would be the time when we would go through our Ford First mid-race leaderboard, and we're going to go on board with John Higman Jr. while we try to do that. It may be a little bit redundant here because of how quickly these positions can change, Evan, but I'm going to give it a shot. Why not? 43 laps complete, working 44. Doug Roth, the race leader. Jamie Pitts second. Scott Simley third. John Higman fourth. LeVere is fifth. Corbin Hemstreet sixth. Seventh to J. Randall Watkins. Eighth, Brennan Mercer. Ninth, Kevin Linden. 10th, Steve Gottschalk. And on back through there, at least it's single file for the moment.
Doug Manning in 11th, Eric Brundy's 12th, Nathan Little 13th, Rich Jetton 14th, James Robinson right now 15th position. Then you get back to the secondary pack. You have Adam Benefield 16th, 17th going to go to Cody Gibson, Jonathan Cadell right now P18, 19th going to be Dan Murray. And then you have to look about 13 more seconds back to find David Comstock, the 20 machine, sits P20.
Yeah, that is almost half a lap behind the race leaders as they're going to come by the stripe now. Justin Wilson, 21st, 22nd, Thomas J. George, John Wilco, 23rd, 24th, Doug Wyatt, 25th, Matt Lacrosse, 26th, Brandon Peterson, a lap down and still trying to survive. Scott Stenzel, 27th, Eric Arnold out of the race, he's 28th, 29th, Jimmy North, 30th, Mark Bratcher, 31st, Rhett McBride. Oh, we got trouble. Jamie Pitts around hard into the inside wall off turn number 4. And I'm not sure he's coming back up onto the racetrack. That may just bring out a caution here just past the midway point of this event.
Gonna stay green as the 99 machine just lost it, and they were getting around. Did he try to come down pit road? He backed it off, started to go low, and the 42 of Stenzel, who was a lap car doing everything he needed to do, went to the apron, got out of the way. 99 just turned right across the nose of Stenzel, went back up to the inside lane. He lost the engine. We stay green, I do believe, so no caution going to be thrown. But what a tough break. The 99 of Jamie Pitts, Jacob, one of those drivers that was taking full advantage here at Talladega, running up inside the top 5, top 10 all race long to the garage and essentially out of this race as he lost that engine on impact.
Yeah, and that's a heartbreaker, and that's really tough because you're right. Scott Stenzel did everything he could to avoid that being a catastrophe, and it was just a moment where everything he could wasn't enough. I mean, that's Talladega for you once again, Evan. Just one of those things that as much as you try to control your own destiny, you just can't here.
And I don't know if he even saw Scott Stenzel down there. Again, he ducked that line, and it didn't really look like one of those situations that, you know, somebody just got a little bit shuffled out of line to get back on the gas, try to get back. It looked like he was definitely checking up, ducked that line next to the nose. You know, there's a lap car right there on the apron that he may have never seen, turns him into the inside wall, and unfortunately for some, unfortunately for others, the fact that he did come up on a racetrack and may have brought out a caution flag, it ended up not. So we stay green, and this lead draft has now pulled an additional second. They're 4.2 to the good over Benefield, who's now 15th, as one of our obviously top runners, Jamie Pitts, has dropped off from that incident. So these leaders enjoying the gap that they have worked right now. And again, this is one of those situations where hanging back can cost you if you're a guy like Benefield, Jacob. The fact that you need a really solid finish, P15 would be cutting it close on doing it. We have seen a lot of our chase drivers have issues here tonight, but if you drop back and this thing stays green, which there's no certainty it will, it is Talladega, but you know, you get in a situation where you're that far back from hanging back, green flag pit stop cycle through, you may never even get a shot at advancing your position.
Yeah, and that's what makes this so difficult, and it also makes pit strategy here so crucial. What do you do? Who do you come with? Who do you draft with? And how does it all play out? That's going to be the big equalizer here as the lead lap cars working around two of our slower cars. That was Brandon Peterson and Matt Lacrosse, who stay way high and allow this lead pack to go single file and basically spare them the agony of trying to weave in and out here. One more lap car coming, or soon to be lap car. I believe that's the 9 of Doug Wyatt, who is going to be the next car in line to drop one lap in arrears. they're content to ride single file for the moment while they know they've got traffic in the way, but as soon as they get clear of this 9 car, Evan, this is gonna get interesting again.
A single file for the moment. And again, we saw single file in the earlier stages of this race. That again, you're going to get a couple of guys that are tired of riding in line, think that this is going to be their best opportunity, because a lot of these guys, they want to get hooked up. Maybe they'll have an agreement with another driver. They want to go to the outside, make it work. But because we've been 2 wide and some points 3 wide up at the front of the field, there's just been not a realistic opportunity to do so. So the fact that we're single file right now in this lead draft, you could see some guys try to make a big move, jump a lot of spots. Guys like Eric Brundys, who's 11th, Nathan Little, Rich Jets, these guys that are at the tail end of this lead draft could try to make something work. Brendan Mercer continuing to go to the outside lane. Not sure what the strategy on that is. Nobody's going with him at the moment. 4 car, CJ LaVere going to get clear of him down on the inside lane. The 29 going to try to find a spot in line behind Steve Gottschalk. Is he able to squeeze in line? Yes, he does. He's able to get back down, but Mercer tried the outside. Nobody went with him, and they'll lose the spot from him.
Yeah, but he's still very much in contention. I mean, you gotta stand back and look at this, Evan. We're now 50 laps complete, 34 to go, so just barely over 100 miles remaining in this deal. And consider this, we've still got 14 cars in this lead draft with a shot to win here at Talladega, and you gotta know, every one of those 14 cars believes that they can and will try to win this race. Right now, though, Kevin Linden in a really bad position. He was 4th, stepped out of line like maybe somebody was going to go with him. Instead, they may drop him all the way back to the tail of this line because he's got no help.
There'll be times when you're going to see somebody go to the outside lane and you hesitate on the fact that he drops down on line behind Brendan Mercer. There'll be times that you'll hesitate on jumping out of line and it'll be a missed opportunity, and those guys that went past you on the outside lane go to the top spot. There'll be times that you'll take that risk and you'll drop right to the back. Again, Talladega, it's so hard to be able to predict what's going to happen, predict what these other drivers are going to be thinking, and evidently going to bite the 48 machine. He does stay in this lead draft, so much like Brendan Mercer, although they lost spots, they're actually going to be P7 and 8 respectively at the moment. Not out of this, only 7/10 back, but definitely merged back in this single file lead draft pack.
Right now, oh boy, we wait and see when these guys are going to come down pit road. It seems like almost the calm before the storm as we complete 52 of 84 scheduled laps here from Talladega Superspeedway. And since it's calm for the moment, we're going to take opportunity to take a break here in just a moment. But before we do here, Evan, just real quickly, I'm watching this lead, and Doug Roth, I wasn't so sure he was going to be able to stay where he is, and hello, the 43 has been absolutely brilliant at the front of this field. He's been able to hold off all comers.
He is working a little bit of damage, but again, with Willow Wolf Nursery on the side of his Chevrolet, again, different colors, he is leading. He qualified in P8 and is able to ride up front. We saw him working that outside lane for the majority of those opening laps, and again, in a similar boat as J. Randall Watkins, some of these other guys, was primarily the pusher. He now finds himself up front. He's able to ride around, get some laps led.
He is, and right now we are 31 laps to go, and we are going to take a break here, slide it in while we've got a little bit of chance to breathe, because we know before too long that's going to go away. So from Talladega Superspeedway, this is LSRTV and the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, back for the finish right after this.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSRTV and the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series from Talladega Super Speedway. Real quick, going to run you through the top 10. Doug Roth, the leader. John Higman Jr., second. Corbin Instreet, third. J. Randall Watkins up to fourth now. Kevin Linden, Brennan Mercer, Scott Sinley, C.J. LeVere, Steve Gottschalk, Doug Manning. The front 10 right now, Jacob Seelman and Evan Pasoko here in the broadcast booth. And Evan, we're getting set for the action that we've been waiting for since about lap 40 or so, because we're hearing on the radio this time by a lot of the leaders going to be peeling to pit road, and we're going to see how dicey Talladega can really be. Green flag pit stops upcoming.
Yeah, only about a lap or two out of them. I know a couple of guys that are in that tail pack, 31 seconds back from our leaders, are going to be coming around this next time by, but the fact that we're single file helps these guys out. The hardest part of entering pit road, Jacob, at Talladega is not the fact that you got to lower down. That's pretty difficult to get it down from about 200 miles an hour, that pit road speed of 55, but it's the fact that you cannot come down by yourself. You're going to be in a big pack. There's going to be guys that drive it in a little bit harder. You're going to be 2-3 wide hitting pit lane, and now one car's pulled out of line down the back straightaway. The 02 J. Randall Watkins with trouble.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure that out because there's no smoke like he lost the engine on that 02. He was running fourth down the back straightaway, and all of a sudden his shot to win may be over right here. He's gone. I'm stunned. I think he just took it to the apron, took it behind the wall, and said, that's it. We're done, boys.
Yeah, running P4, pulled her down, launched the onboard, and now he is manually disconnected. So that machine going to be behind the wall. That is the end of the night for the 02 of J. Randall Watkins. Just pulled her out of line. Jacob let off the accelerator, parked her on the back straightaway, and just like that, behind the wall.
And I was going to say we try to tap into the radio and see if we couldn't get him before, get a word with him before he got too far to the motorhome lot, but he has already left the premises just about. Whatever happened in that 02 machine, it happened in a hurry, and J. Randall Watkins, he's left without comment, Evan, and, you know, we don't see that very often, especially from somebody who was running as strong as he was. I thought he had a shot to win this, and here we go. Meanwhile, Scott Simley, C.J. LeVere, the first two to pit road.
They got to have help, so Simley, as you said, he's going to come down, C.J. LeVere. James Robinson, P13 car, going to try to tag along with this, Jacob. That could hurt him, depending on how well those two cars get hooked up right in front of him. He may be able to kind of hang on as a third car in line, as he's going to go with two right side tires, fuel, and then probably go as he still sits in his pit stall. You know, two tires, fuel, and off. But it's going to be interesting because we'll have to see how well he's able to hang on to the back of C.J. LeVere and to the back of Scott Simley, because if LeVere and Simley check out, he could get left by these two. They're at a pit road well before him. This could be big trouble.
Yeah, and it's going to be even more big trouble if more than two of these guys head to pit road
Here
right
come the
now.
leaders.
Here come a bunch of them. Doug Roth, the leader, pulls off. Brennan Mercer, Kevin Linden. It's most of the leaders right here. The 51
60
and
car
Doug
was
Manning.
fast in.
Oh, boy. Higman may come back to bite him for a speeding penalty. I thought that he looked awful quick right now in that machine. Evan, we're going to keep an eye on the officiating crew here and see what we can't find out. But would you believe that as the leaders come to pit road, the new leader is the 85 of Benefield?
Well, it's fuel only for the 60 car. Higman Jr. is out, and he's got a gap on everybody, but there's a little bit of latency. There's a little bit of a buffer that you can have there, Jacob, that iRacing will give you a little bit of, some space. He was going about 65 to 55, entering. It depends on how fast he got it slowed down. If the sim decided to give him a bit black flag, there's still a possibility that he'd have to cycle through the next time by to serve it, depending on if it would be issued on pit road exit. But right now, fuel only and gone. A very quick stop for Higman.
Yeah, very quick, and I just don't know about that. I feel like you're going to get swallowed up if you get a gap of too much on the rest of these leaders. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see because we've only got coming to 20 laps to go. How about the strategy by this 4-car pack up front? Benefiel, Cody Gibson, Jonathan Cadell, Dan Murray. 3 chasers in that 4-car lead train, and they haven't pitted just yet that I can see.
No, they're still out there right now. The 5 of Cody Gibson working with Benefiel, Cadell, and Murray. This was that 4-car pack, Jacob, that was about 16 back from that lead draft. So they've cycled through the lead right now. Going to try to stretch it as long as they can, as actually 20 laps to go this time by. And obviously these guys are going to have to come down pit road. They have 33-second gap over who's current race leader. Well, last time by was Higman Jr., but CJ LeVere going to be the first car out of the cars that are overpitted because the 68 machine going to help him. Simley going to push CJ LeVere down in front of the 60 of John Higman Jr.
Yeah, and while you're watching that, I'm watching the battle that's going on behind them. They were 3 by 3 down the back straightaway. John Wilco, Scott Simley, Corbin Hemstreet, Brennan Mercer, and others. It's about 8 cars right here, and they were 3 wide, about 3 rows deep down the back straightaway, racing for what right now is 9th, Evan. This is where disasters start happening here at Talladega. And what you see is you've got 4 guys who have tried to build enough of a gap by taking fuel only that they can settle in amongst themselves. A caution would negate all of that, but we're just going to have to see. It's about a 7-car pack behind them that's trying to catch them. The problem is if they keep racing like they were just racing, there's no way they're going to catch them.
And we showed the replay there a little bit ago. The trouble for Steve Gottschalk on pit road. Absolutely just missed his stall, entered way late, and is going to cost Steve a lot of time. Jacob, he has lost the main draft. He's back with the 48 of Kevin Linden, but he'll be stuck 1 lap down.
Yeah, and that's going to be disaster, and those are the kind of mistakes you cannot make for a leader like Kevin Linden, like a Steve Gottschalk. They were in contention, and now they're basically out of it here. And look at this. All of a sudden, this 6-car pack that I was watching has worked its way single file. And if you go single file around the bottom against guys who are dicing it up for the lead, you're going to be faster. The question is, do they have enough laps? This time by, it'll be 17 laps to go. They've got to get this figured out in a hurry or pray that there's going to be a caution. Otherwise, they have no chance of winning this race.
Yeah, those first 4 cars that have yet to come down pit road, single file at the moment. Then you have a secondary pack of 4 cars, 33 seconds back. Their pit stops have already been completed. They're led by now John Higman Jr. They're only 32 back, so the single file by these 4 cars actually picking up time at the rest of the field. Higman, Roth, Simley, LeVere, 33 seconds back. 3 seconds behind them is that main draft that you were talking about that were 3 wide, 2 rows deep. That includes Hemstreet, Manning, Brendan Mercer, Rich Jett, Eric Brundy's, Nathan Little. In that one, John Wilco, last car on the lead lap, all by himself. For a quick note, that Hershey's Halloween-styled Chevrolet is back in 15th position all alone.
Yeah, and see, Brendan Mercer's doing something right now that I don't agree with. He keeps peeking out and keeps trying to make something happen. And these guys want to make up time and challenge for a win. That is not the way to do it. That's an easy way to lose time here in the closing laps. If these guys want to have any shot of dicing it up, they've got to stay single file. They've got to stay lockstep. And they're not doing it right now, and it's going to cost them.
Yeah, 51 machine goes back to the high side, and again, they're only 4 seconds back, Jacob, with that pack in front of them. But that pack in front of them of 4 cars, single file, they know what to do. And it goes back to what Carl Edwards said in Cup qualifying. If we ride single file, and they were obviously referring to the elimination qualifying, everybody in that round 2 would have beat everybody in round number 1. That single file line is the fastest way around. That's why Higman, Roth, Simley, and LeVere are picking up time on that lead draft of cars that have not come down pit road yet, and that's why they're pulling away from Corbin Hemstreet and company, because those guys just can't stay in line. It's going to hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, it is. The gap was about 3.8 seconds from the back of that front pack to the front of that second pack last time by. This time by, it is going to be stretched out a little bit more, 3.9 seconds with lap traffic between them now. I don't think that second pack is going to have any shot if they don't get a caution flag here. These front four pulled strategy. Oh boy, we got contact everywhere right now. It's getting dicey. Cody Gibson's involved in it. That's all the way at the front of the field, 32 seconds.
Yeah, those guys were down pit road, and Cody Gibson had to try to get down, and Jonathan Cadell was on the inside lane. 5 did not appreciate that. Came down, gave a little bit of a shot to the 11 of Cadell, and in theory, you should all be on the right-hand side of the white hash marks in the middle of pit road unless your stall's before the other guy behind you. So Cadell's obviously was further. They make contact. That will shuffle them up a little bit, and there goes who is going to be new race leader, the number 60 of John Higman Jr.
He did it at Chicagoland. I mean, why not? There's a good shot he can do it again, and oh boy, there's your second pack right there, now led by Brennan Mercer, who's being pushed by the 36 of Rich Jett. And it seems like now that these guys have shuffled Corbin Hemstreet out, 5 cars can go single file and make something happen. It's going to be all about what the gap is right here, and only 13 laps to figure it out.
And now we'll have to see, does that secondary pack try to kind of get their stuff together and try to form some sort of a pack that would allow them to catch up on this lead draft. However, the 60 machine has gone to the high side. John Higman Jr. just has opted to go to the top. He's going to probably drop down the line here behind CJ LaVere. He will do so. But a gap is going to be 3 seconds back to now who leads that secondary pack, Brendan Mercer. 36 machine still up high, Jacob. I think they're actually going to be able to catch these guys just by the fact that they have just a few more cars working that draft than those lead cars.
Well, they did until Rich Jett pulled out a line right here, and now it's going to be maybe Jett fall into the tail of this line, maybe deciding it's time to just let these guys go to work. The gap had been 4 seconds. It is now 3 seconds. They're running them down. The problem is they're running out of time. Only 12 laps remain this time. Lap traffic going to, I think, go to the high side right here and give these guys a shot to make up time. It was 3 seconds. It's now 2.6. You're right, Evan. They are coming, and they may just make it.
And they have time to do so. Some more lap traffic, and you stuck at a high side. How about David Comstock, Jacob? Really didn't mention him, but returning to the field here tonight after a couple of weeks not being in the races, and he is obviously 1 lap down. That secondary pack now going by him. He has the one of Thomas J. George with him. George entering as the highest placed car in on points. P19 at the moment. Again, it will be close, and you don't want to cut it that close, and the issue for him is he's not even going to be in a lucky dog position, and that's just the different strategies playing out. That's the risk that you take if, by hanging back, and the chances of long green flag run get you stuck a lap down. A couple of good cars are not on the lead lap, including Justin Wilson.
I think he'll be okay. Ultimately, I think he'll be all right. I think we've seen enough problems with chase drivers tonight that the guys who are high up in points are going to be okay. It may be a little bit close, but I think they're going to make it. Now, let's watch this second pack, because they have formed up and they are cutting 4/10 a lap off this lead draft now. They finally got it figured out, and look who's pushing Brennan Mercer. Don't we always say that he comes at just the right moment as Eric Blundy's in this pack, but he just gave up a position right here. He's falling back, and we've got one car slow on the apron of the racetrack. Not sure what the problem is there, but we could have that late race caution we were talking about.
Scott Stenzel is slowed down on the apron of the racetrack. He's been driving a battered machine all race long and has been down multiple laps, and he lost the engine. Scott Stenzel has lost the engine entering tonight. Good in the championship standings. This will drop him to about P24, which is where he was running. That again going to be cutting it close. Trouble for the Yellow Stripe Chevrolet.
Yeah, that's going to be real close. We're going to have to wait on the math for this one. And how about this? Side by side for the race lead. Scott Sibley, LaVere, Higman, Roth, they're all going at it. This single file pack, I think, is going to start to catch them in a big way now. They're going to have 9 laps to do it when they come back to the line, and I think we could still have a 9 or maybe even an 11 car freight train for the win. Benefiel and Murray not out of this yet either.
This race still far from over, and now side by side up at the front of the field, the 68 car working that outside lane, the 60 machine up there as well. But again, the secondary pack continues to close, and they've continuously had guys, Jacob, that are leading that draft kind of drop back in line. We've seen Doug Manning do it, and we saw most recently Eric Brundy's do it. He dropped back to get in behind the 51 of Doug Manning. We're going to go side by side and go on board with Brendan Mercer. Going to be taking a look back at them, and you'll see the gap. About 2 seconds the last time by. CJ LeVere, however, with help from the 43 of Doug Roth to the point.
Yeah, and this is where it gets dicey, because can you get there, and will you have enough time to do anything? These guys who are second in line, we see them dropping back like this. That may be because they're trying to cool those motors for one final run at the finish. When you're locked up behind that lead car, you've got no air coming to the engine, and right now, they're trying to make it there, but they are really running out of time, and now Benefiel and Murray going side by side at the back of this. I just don't know. It's going to be close down the super stretch.
Yeah, 2.1 the last time by. They're just not making up the time that they need to like they did before. The 51 of Doug Manning, he's now pushing Brendan Mercer, now leading that draft. That's going to obviously give them a little bit of a boost that they needed, Jacob, but they may run out of time here as well.
7 to go. This time, it's gonna be close. Let's see what the gap is at the start-finish line. They had been making up 4/10 a lap last time by. This time by, the 51's the car to bail out, and it is 1.9 seconds. They're making up time, still not making it up quite as fast as they were before. Brundy's back to pushing the 29 here, and the catch is these front four are gonna start racing for the win eventually. They have to. It's a racer's nature, Evan. You're gonna start dicing it up here eventually. You want to try to get that checkered flag, and I'll tell you though, I think the pairing that may push this, or may drag this 6-car freight train to the back of the leaders, is the 94 pushing the 29. That's how this line has been the quickest all race long.
And how about these guys that are in this lead draft? Our chase driver, CJ LeVere, third position. Jacob entered tonight 1 point to the good over Nathan Little, executing the way he needed to. How about right behind him? Scott Simley entered tonight fourth in the championship standings. He was about 14 to the good, but still executing, doing what they needed to do. They're in a position, obviously, to advance into the next round as they run right now, but like you said, they're going to have to start racing at 1 point. That secondary pack, 1.6 seconds back. This could come down to it in the final laps on if those guys are now tucked up behind each other, single file. They know what they need to do to catch that lead draft. The question is going to be, with these leaders now side by side, they may be able to capitalize on it.
They were making up 4/10 a lap when these leaders were side by side a couple laps ago. I think they're going to make up more than that. You can visibly see how tight it is getting. It was 1.6 last time by. This time by, Grundy's Mercer leading this train. It is going to get closer. It's down to about 1.2, I think. Officially at the stripe, it is 1.2. They are coming, and they may get there about in time for a lap and a half dash.
They continue to close in now. Again, it was 4/10 that last time by, and slowly and surely, Brendan Mercer is going to start to get a little bit of draft advantage from those guys up in front of him. I think the secondary pack is going to be able to make it what would be at that point an 11-car show to the end as we remain 2 sets of tandems side by side up front. LeVere leading the outside charge. His partner is Scott Simley on the inside. Doug Roth continuing this championship-style performance as he looks for a trip to victory lane on the season. Jacob, the number 43 machine, again, with different colors. Willow Wolf Nursery on the side of that Chevrolet would be a sweet victory for him.
10 miles. It is 1 second. They're coming, and they may just make it in time. Eric Grundy's putting together another championship-worthy charge late in the going. He tries to put it there right at the right time. They are going to be there. You can visibly see how close it is now, about 8 car lengths down the super stretch, and it is closing rapidly. 3 cars on the bottom, and 11 cars about to be the lead draft, and it's going to be about a 2-lap shootout to the finish.
The question will be this time by as we take 3 to go is now that those leaders have single filed back out, Jacob, that second pack is going to get there, but do they have enough time to get hooked up in tandems and make any sort of run for those top spots as we cross the start-finish line. Mercer only now 4/10 back for the next closest car, which is the tail end of that lead draft, Scott Simley at a number 68 machine. So this secondary pack is going to be there. Do they have enough time to mount a charge? I think they may be just a little bit too late. They'll catch them, but they need to translate that into a big move. Expect to see Mercer and Brundys make something happen.
Exactly the words I was just about to say, Evan, because that tandem right there at the front of this pack, the 94 pushing the 29, that's my pick to make the move to potentially win this race. I don't think Brundys is going to be able to step out and make a challenge for the win himself, but I do think he may be able to push Mercer all the way to victory lane. This time by double popsicle sticks is going to go in the air. It is going to be 2 laps to glory here from Talladega, and here comes Brundys and Mercer. They are there in one. It is 11 cars under a blanket.
And they're there. It was only a 10th. Now we see with inside 2 laps to go, does Mercer make a move? He starts to slide up. The 68 machine starts to slide up. He wants help from Brendan Mercer. Is Mercer going to work with him? Yes, he does. Here we go, Brendan Mercer. And now the 60 machine, John Higman Jr. slowing on the apron.
Higman's in trouble, and I think he may have bailed out to not see what this is going to do as far as affecting the battle for the win. The problem is we're running out of time. CJ Lavaire's the leader. He's got no help. Scott Simley's coming. It's going to be the white flag in the air this time. Bail out. 1 to go as we come to the stripe.
Going to be neck and neck, and that time by it is the 68 on the outside lane with help from Brendan Mercer. Scott Simley, the advantage at the white flag. The inside lane, working more cars, only 3 on the high side. A lot of room, Jacob, down that back straightaway to see them fan out for the final time. At a quarter number 2, it is neck and neck for the top spot. The outside lane pushing and hooked up. Simley going to have the advantage, half a car length into 3.
Yeah, this is where you stop looking at your gauges and just go. And Scott Simley, CJ Lavaire, it's a pair of chasers trying to punch their ticket to the eliminator round. They've got to win. CJ Lavaire into turn number 3. Gonna lead this pack off the final corner. Does Simley have the momentum? It's a long way around, and now we see the 4 of Lavaire break free. Doug Roth wants a win. Simley's wide. CJ Lavaire is gonna win and advance. He takes the checkered flag at Talladega.
He entered 1 point to the good 1.1 position. Was all that he had into the championship and runs up front all race long and is able to punch the easy way in. And obviously not going to get any sort of points provisional, Jacob, but making a statement is CJ Lavaire in the number 14, because at times in this chase, he's almost been a sleeper, a dark horse per se, one that was not up front making all the flashy moves, but getting solid finishes, Jacob, to advance himself, and he'll make it to the round of 8.
Well, he was 1 point to the good coming in, Evan, but there's one way to ensure that you don't have to worry about points, and that's win. That's exactly what CJ Lavaire did, and just getting a little bit of radio communication from the 60 team, John Higman Jr. actually ran out of fuel coming to the white flag. I did not expect that at all.
And because of that, he will finish 17th position after being about, I want to say 4th, or actually 3rd in line, Jacob, at 2 to go.
Wow. But for CJ Lavaire, the opposite of what John Higman Jr. is feeling. He's feeling jubilation because he is in the Eliminator 8. Eric Brundys charged to a 3rd place finish. We knew he was already in. A championship-worthy performance for Doug Roth. 57 1,000ths of a second was the difference. But it's the 4 of CJ Lavaire able to burn it down on the front straightaway. We'll talk with him right after this. The Garry Mercer Trucking Post-Race Show is next from Talladega Super Speedway. This is LSRTV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series and the Garry Mercer Trucking Post-Race Show here from Talladega Super Speedway. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko breaking down a wild finish, and how about a big win and advancement for C.J. Laver. He came in 1 point to the good. He makes sure he doesn't need it. He wins at Talladega by 5/100ths of a second. And what a points shakeup, Evan, because before we go down to Eric Brundy's, we've got the numbers, and we've got two huge names, just like in the Cup Series, out of this championship.
And Scott Simley will lead in overall points, excluding the wins. Brundys, Murray, Thomas J. George, C.J. Laver, Jonathan Cadell, Nathan Little, Scott Stenzel. How about Stenzel, after ending up in a garage, is able to hang on, but 3 points out of it. Justin Wilson, he played the hang-back strategy. I mentioned, Jacob, I don't know if it was going to work because that long green flag run trapped him what would be 2 laps down. A 21st place result will eliminate him from this championship by 3 points. Over that 8th position, or rather behind that 8th position, Adam Benefield going to be eliminated as well. He comes up 6 points short in the number 10 position. Gottschalk going to be eliminated 20 short. He'll finish 11th this round, and Rhett McBride going to be done as well.
Yeah, McBride's night was done early, and wow. Did we expect this, Evan? I'm going to make my way down towards some of the survivors, but did we expect a shakeup like this? I mean, that's just like the Cup Series. Like we said, Junior's out, Johnson's out, Kane is out, and now you've got in RSR, Wilson, Benefield, McBride, 3 of your power players all season. They're done.
And you have to relate it also to what Jimmy Johnson said, and it's the fact that if anything, the championship format gave some of these guys a better opportunity, Jacob, to advance. Guys like Scott Stenzel, he'll go back to the next round. He advances. He's on an even playing field. A lot of these guys, without these eliminations, would be 40, 50 points back, but I mean, after Kansas, who knew what was going to happen in this round? This was definitely I know the next round is going to be the eliminated round, but you might as well call this one that because all of the big names, and again, very similar, almost eerily similar to the Cup Series. A lot of our big drivers were on the outside looking in, entering tonight, and as you said, about 3 powerhouse drivers. Also, Steve Gottschalk was running very consistent in these first few races in the chase. He'll get cut as well.
He will get cut, and right now, Evan, I just made my way down here to talk with, as we said, some of the survivors. One of the guys who made a late charge in new colors, and we knew he didn't need to do anything spectacular. Tonight, he was already in after a win last week. But Eric Brundy's, you almost make the spectacular run to victory lane again. Come home third tonight, but boy, that was almost the miracle run that worked. Talk about that run in the second pack there at the end. It was you and Brennan Mercer trying to make the charge. It almost paid off, and it gives you a podium here tonight. And how much more momentum do you need going to this next round?
Oh, yeah, we were just cruising out back at the beginning. I don't really like to be up front too early for these plate races. And then a big wreck happened, and we found ourselves like 12th, and then from there we just kind of rode in line, and on a pit stop I got separated from a pack in front of us, and then my teammates and I just kind of ran down that lead pack, and we caught them just in time. I wish we had another couple laps and might have been able to sneak out a win, but I'll definitely take third at a plate track. It's not my favorite style of racing, so it's good for us.
I know it's not your favorite. You said that by far and away, Eric, coming into this. You were glad you won at Charlotte because you didn't have to sit here sick to your stomach for a week worrying about whether you needed a strong run at Talladega. And now we head to an eliminator round that has Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix. How much optimism do you have looking at this next set of 3 before we go to the championship finale at Homestead?
Well, I feel good about it. I think we won Martinsville in the spring, and the other 2 tracks, I think we got top 5, so I definitely feel good about it. But, that said, these final 8 drivers are really good, and, anything can happen. We could get wrecked all 3 races. I mean, you just never know. So, but we feel good about it.
Well, you've got reason to feel good about it. You've been strong everywhere all season long. I mean, there's no question. We know who the car to beat is. You've been there just about every single race all season, and that's not possible without some supporters. Special colors on the car tonight, C&J Energy Services. I'm sure there's a reasoning behind that, so give the shout-outs, and I'm curious what sparked the special paint scheme tonight.
Well, yeah, I ran the Terry Labonte tribute scheme. Terry's been my favorite driver since I was like 6 years old, and yesterday was his very last race. So we wanted to run this scheme and kind of make him proud, even though he wasn't watching, I'm sure. But no, it was just, he's kind of the whole reason I even got into NASCAR, and I'm here with you tonight. So I just wanted to do that scheme for him. And I also like to thank my teammates and Amy for watching, and you guys for a great broadcast.
As always, championship class, and Eric, you're going to take that to the next round. Second in points after tonight, but I know looking very much ahead to Martinsville next Monday. We'll see you there. Congrats on a podium finish here tonight at Talladega.
All right, thanks.
That's Eric Brundy's. Evan, I'm headed down to you now. You've caught up, I believe, with our second place man. That would be the 43 of Doug Roth.
And we're down on pit lane, and Doug Roth sporting some different colors here tonight with Willow Wolf Mercer in the side of his 43 Chevrolet. But Doug, we know you haven't gotten the results that you've obviously wanted this season. It's going to be your second top five, but a P2 result. You led a lot of laps. Walk us through your night and also the story behind your new design here for this week.
Absolutely, Evan, man. It was a great night for the Willow Wolf 43. We started out, qualified pretty good. 8th is, I think, where we qualified at, and was working with Jamie Pitts there for a while, and unfortunately we were going to do some pit strategy, and he got caught up in a little bit of trouble. And from that point forward, it was pretty much just a team effort with my teammates, CJ LeVere and Scott Simley, and at the end we were able to get CJ there the win, so he can advance there to the championship, or the next round, rather.
Any thoughts there coming through the tri-oval of stepping out of line, maybe trying to put that machine in victory lane, or was the plan all along make sure CJ gets that checkered flag so nothing crazy can knock him out of the next round?
Well, I was on the fence. I haven't won on a Monday night televised event, so obviously, that was on my mind. But at the end of the day, it's all about my teammates, and CJ, we really wanted to get CJ this win to guarantee him because he was on the bubble, and that was kind of the plan. We stuck to it, and we were happy to see one of our teammates there definitely move on to the next round.
Well, a great move there for your teammate, and you get CJ the victory. Before we let you go, as always, sponsors and shout-outs. Who made this run possible?
First, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Willow Wolf Nursery. You asked about the paint scheme. That's actually my mom's business that she has for all your plant needs in South Carolina. I want to give her a shout out for watching every week. Also to Hippie Doug's Paint Shop for doing all my paint jobs. Really appreciate him and all the custom paints that he does. Does an awesome job. And RSR for putting on the league, and LSRTV for broadcasting every week. You guys do an awesome job.
All right, Doug, well, congratulations on a solid run P2 for you tonight, and we'll be hoping we see your 43 car up here in future races. Good luck moving forward.
Appreciate it, and have a good night.
Jacob, that's it down here on pit road. Doug Roth, a solid P2 finish for the 43 team.
I smell some cheering going on right here, and that means we are going all the way to Gatorade Victory Lane, and for the first time in the chase, but it couldn't have come at a better time, CJ LeVere stands triumphant over Talladega Super Speedway. CJ, you had a lot of team help there in the closing laps, and we just heard Doug Roth say it was a team effort to get you in the next round of the championship. You do that with a win tonight. You came in, but you left no doubt that you were going to the Eliminator 8. Talk about that run to the checkered flag, and were you nervous at all when that second pack finally caught you guys there with about 2 to go?
I was pretty much nervous that whole race, shaking, knowing I had to have a very good run, or if not win the race. In Talladega, you never know, so we just tried to stay up front the whole race and stay out of trouble, and I had my team with me the whole race, which is, oh my God, without them, obviously I would not have won the race. I mean, Doug and Scott, they made it happen for me today. And when they were the other pack was catching, I was getting a little worried. I was trying to get everybody to switch up front, and the one of the other guy that was running up there, I can't even think, Higman at the time, he wasn't on our channel, so he didn't know what was going on. So the second pack, they just reeled us right in, and I thought they were going to get us. We just lucked out. It was one of those races, and we needed to win, and we got lucky and won. We move on, and hopefully we can get another win in this next round and make it easy.
I know that's what you're looking for, CJ. You've kind of been, I'll call it the underdog in this championship. You were one of the guys that, I'll be honest, I didn't expect to see advance past this round of 12, and yet here you are going to Martinsville still with a shot at this championship. How do these next 3 tracks look from your perspective? Is this a case where now you've got some good tracks for you coming up, and we might see you power your way through to this championship race at Homestead?
You just never know. It's all about luck and how these next races go. I'm looking just at Martinsville, and we'll get through Martinsville and then go from there. Yeah, we're up in the air right now. We got to do some testing this week, and we'll see how it goes. As long as I got my team behind me, don't count us out yet.
You had them behind you tonight. This win couldn't have come at a better time. How much does it mean to you to know that at a place like Talladega, where you can have a plan, but 99% of the time it doesn't work out, how much does that mean to you guys that you were able to perfect the plan and make it work tonight?
My team's pretty good at super speedways. Our plans usually work out for one of our teammates. That's the idea, to get one of them up there. Tonight they planned to make sure I was the winner, and I even second guessed them all night. I was like, you guys are just crazy, and they made it happen, and I can't thank them enough. Scott and Doug, I mean, they could have won the race just as easy as me, and they just made sure I won it.
Yeah, it worked out that way tonight, CJ, and you talked about them. The teammates helped make it happen. Who else makes it happen for you in the Ford team? Sponsors, shout-outs, give the people some love.
I got to thank RSR for putting this on, Mercer's Trucking, LSRTV. I got to thank my beautiful paint job from hippiespaintshop.com. You got to check them out. They always paint some beautiful cars. Got to thank all you guys here in the RSR board that puts all this stuff together, man. A lot of work goes into this stuff. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be able to race here.
And it certainly paid off tonight, CJ. You are a winner at Talladega, and you're moving on to round 3 of this chase. Go let it sink in and celebrate. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, guys, and I hope to see you again.
That's CJ LeVere. Evan, I'm going to throw you back down to pit road because we have got another driver down there that's with you who has to be feeling pretty good about himself right now because he will be the chase grid leader. Headed to Martinsville, made a run late. It almost got him to victory lane, but Scott Simley is the man that's on the king of the mountain after the contender 12, and I believe you're down there with him.
Glad to be.
We're down on pit road. We've caught up with the driver at number 68, Scott Simley. And Scott, you're going to exit this round as the highest finishing driver in the championship standings, excluding the 2 buyers from the wins here. But going forward now, you're going to be in the eliminator round. What does that mean for you and the 68 Budweiser crew?
We got to go get them. I've got to start buckling down now and try to pull off a W. So and just guarantee a spot for that last race. So.
Tonight's race, we saw you up front for a good portion of it, a top 5 qualifying time, and coming down there through the trial where you jumped at a line and were getting the push from Brennan Mercer on the outside lane, and a little bit of a checkup. You had to slide up. The 43 machine came up on your left front a little bit there. It's going to be a P6 result, but I mean, walk us through the race. I mean, it went green a long way. Was there any ever, thought of maybe pulling the strategy that we saw some of these guys doing, that is hanging way back, or was it always the idea of being up front and trying to stay out of trouble?
No, I figured since we qualified well up front, I wanted to stay up front, and I just didn't want to get back there. And that pit stop there we had planned, and it worked out. And Again, it was a team effort tonight. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to these next races.
The next race is going to be coming up. It's going to be kicked off at Martinsville Speedway. Your thoughts rolling into that one to get this third and second to last segment of this chase kicked off?
I'm excited. Martinsville's going to be fun. Gonna try to get a lot of practice in here just to be warmed up for it, and let's get this thing started.
All right, well, before we let you go, Scott, obviously sponsors and shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you and the 68 Budweiser team?
Got to start out with the teammates tonight. That was just a lot of fun, racing with the teammates. But Hippie's Paint Shop for painting all the cars, RSR TV, ITSR, LSRTV, again, you guys do a great job on the broadcasting. Derek Spears Design, Inside Sim Racing.
All right, well, once again, congratulations on a sixth-place result. I know you may have liked a little bit more than that, but a solid showing. You'll be the top seed rolling forward into the next round. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jacob, back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back here, and I've actually come back down pit road one more time because there's one more driver to catch up with, and he's one of the guys who was on the razor's edge, tied for the last spot to advance, and by 3 points. Nathan Little, you got your first RSR win just a couple weeks ago, and now you advance to round 3 of the chase for the Full Throttle Cup by the slimmest of margins. How tight was it from your vantage point tonight, and what did it take in those final laps to hold your breath and just hope it was going to be enough?
Well, I thought I was going to pass out going over the start-finish because it was balls to the walls all the way to the finish line there. I had to throw a block on Benefield, go down the back. It just, at the end of the race, you got to do those kind of things, and it was tight. It was really tight. If I wouldn't got by Scott and them guys right there through the drive, I'd have been out. So it was fun. I can breathe now.
You can breathe now. You're in the round of 8, and that's what's going to make all the difference here. Now we've got Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix, and for you, you've been quietly consistent through this entire chase, making the right moves exactly when you have to. And what's it going to take now? Because whittling it down from 8 to 4, you're not just going to have to be consistent. It's going to have to be just about perfection in order to advance to this championship race at Homestead.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's going to take top 5s and runs like that to get in, and really, a few guys you're gonna know some guys gonna have some trouble just hoping ain't you. So just top 5s, I think, and next 3 tracks are pretty good for me. So we'll see what we can do. I didn't expect to make it this far, so everything else is bonus.
Yeah. And right now the bonus is that you move on, Nathan, and in a big way too. Before we let you go, sponsors, shout-outs. The run continues. Who makes it happen?
I got Lead Feet Performance on the hood there. It's my cousin's company. It's a company where you buy aftermarket parts and stuff on the internet, and everybody can check it out if they can. And my buddy Derek, and I got another girl, I think her name's Savannah. Yeah, Savannah's watching, and I'm ecstatic to make it in, to be honest with you. I didn't expect this. I'm not going to lie.
I know you didn't expect it, but here you go on a silver platter, Nathan. You advance to round 3. That's got to be a good feeling. Take it back, and we'll see you at Martinsville, still with a shot to win this title.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all for all y'all do, too. Y'all be good.
We appreciate it, Evan. Before we go, we'll take a quick look at the rundown, take a quick look at the points. That's where I want to start because, one more time, Wilson, Benefield, Gottschalk, McBride, they're out. Their run is over.
And it was a 3-way tie for the final transferring position. Cadell, Little, and Stenzel all making it in by only 3 points over Justin Wilson, who was the first car on the outside in P9. We were also in a 2-way tie for 4th, Jacob, so they're starting to get closer as we get a lesser amount of cars in this. And again, this championship battle is only heating up. 4 races to go, and going to be heading to a short track in 1 week's time. But again, all the guys that are going to be transferring: Simley, Brundys, Murray, Thomas J. George, C.J. LaVere, Jonathan Cadell, Nathan Little, and Scott Stenzel.
And now we're going to go take a look down the final Garry Mercer Trucking leaderboard for the night here, Evan. Of course, as we mentioned, C.J. LeVere picking up a big win to advance to round 3, the eliminator round of the chase. Doug Roth, his teammate, second. Eric Brundy's his third. Brennan Mercer, after that last-ditch effort, comes up 4th. Nathan Little, a top 5. And Scott Simley, 6th. Rich Jett, a nice run. He's 7th. Adam Benefiel is 8th. Unfortunately, not enough to advance. Dan Murray in the 55 is 9th. And Doug Manning in the 51. Nice, solid run for him. He rounds out that lead pack in 10th.
Corbin Himstreet's going to be able to come home with an 11th place result. Jonathan Cadell able to hang on for 12th. Cody Gibson, 13th place result for him. James Robinson, one more back. That's going to be 14th. Steve Gottschalk, rough night out tonight. 91 car, can't get anything more than a 15th place result. That obviously championship run coming to a close. Kevin Linden going to be the last car to lead lap. The 48 led a couple laps here, Jacob, in the earlier stages. He'll come home last place on the lead lap, 16th spot. John Higman Jr., one lap down, going to get 17th. Comstock, 18th place. Thomas J. George with the 19th place result. And final car, one lap down, rounding up the top 20 is going to be John Wilco.
Yeah, Justin Wilson's championship run comes to an end. He's 21st. The last car running, Doug Wyatt 22nd, Matt Lacrosse 23rd, Scott Stenzel 24th, lost that motor late, Brandon Peterson 25th, J. Randall Watkins 26th, all these cars out of the race, Jamie Pitts 27th, Eric Arnold, the Navy Nuke 28th, 29th, Jimmy North, 30th, Mark Bratcher. Rhett McBride's run after being second in points so much of this season comes to an end in a crash, a pair of crashes as a matter of fact. He's 31st. Jason Lester, 32nd. Mitch Rollo, 33rd. Stephen Herring rounding out the 34-car field. He went out early on in this race at that lap 18 caution flag. And Evan, we're done from Talladega. We've seen the chase shake up, and now it's on to another shake-up track. Hello, Martinsville.
Yeah, Martinsville is the place where you settle the scores if you feel anybody's wronged you in these previous, what's going to be coming on now, almost 28 races in this season. But Martinsville, 200 laps, Jacob, the paperclip. We can't expect much more than a lot of beating and banging. A very exciting one, and almost another race that could be classified as a survival of the fittest race there, because, again, I can guarantee you, much like tonight, going to be a lot of torn-up sheet metal and maybe a couple of torn-up feelings after that one's all done.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll be back here next Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. LSRTV's the place to be, and right now we're going to wrap it up. So, for Evan Pasoko, our executive producer Laura Lawson, John Abbott, Brennan Mercer, the rest of the staff at RSR, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall until we meet again, race fans, and we'll see you next time on the web. Congrats again to C.J. LeVere. He wins at the fastest super speedway in racing, Talladega. Next week, we're on to Martinsville. Good night, everybody.